Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on a new week, The Routing Loop show here live on Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a fine Wednesday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you folks are all around the world. I see we already have a bunch of folks here joining us that are old friends of the Routing Loop. But for those of you who are new to this show, we talk about AWS networking and content delivery. That's our topic, and really cool services that you can use to build your networks on AWS. AWS Cloud WAN is one of them, and we're going to be talking about that today. But before we dive right in, I would love to share with you all my awesome attendees here, Fiona and Sridhar, guests, I should say, actually, not attendees, guests. Good to see you folks. I'll give you the chance to introduce yourselves in a second. My name is Alex. I'm a networking specialist solutions architect with AWS, and my bread and butter is networking. I've been in networking or doing networking in a form and another for almost 16 years now. Really excited to have made the transition to cloud networking, which is the I call it like not the real physical networking or classical on-premises networks. And yeah, that's who we are. That's what we're doing here. I see Ken already joining us. Hello, Ken. Thank you for sharing. Put in the chat, all of you folks, depending on the platform that you're looking at us from, where you're from. What do you do? Do you love networking? I'm hoping all of you folks love networking since you're all here. Now, before we dive into the topic for today, we do have 1 hour. We're going to be talking in depth about AWS Cloud WAN and how you can build global networks with that on AWS. Let's meet our guests for today. Fiona, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Alex. My name is Fiona Armada. I'm a principal solution architect on the UK enterprise, and my day job is to work with manufacturing customers, not these large, complex, difficult customers that they build something in AWS, but not on the cloud. They build real physical things. Because that's kind of, I say, my day job. My passion really, and that's my kind of afternoon and today almost night job, is to talk about networking and in particular AWS networking. Same as you, Alex, I share a passion around 26 years of networking experience. So I keep myself entertained during the nights and late afternoons, talking about cloud and cloud networking in particular as well. So I'm quite excited to be here with Sridhar as well, presenting Cloud WAN. That is a repeat from our talk on reInvent.
Awesome. Wow, 26 years in networking. That is amazing. Congratulations for...
I'm showing my age. That's a problem. People say, oh, you've been alone too much.
No, absolutely not. I think you just started when you were really, really young. Here's Jamie, who's also saying that he loves networking, but sometimes it doesn't love him back. Well, hopefully, all of us have a good experience with networking, and we get to love it, and we get to love it to love us back. Sridhar, back to you.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Sridhar Kulkarni. I'm a product manager in the AWS VPC product management team. I lead PM product management for AWS Cloud WAN and Transit Gateway services. Super excited to be here. Just like Alex and Fiona, I am also a networking veteran. I'll stay away from how many years. But as far as I can remember, I've always done networking in as far as technology is concerned. We started with on-prem networking many years ago, and then slowly but gradually we are now into cloud, and a lot of the concepts are, I would say, similar, but the exciting thing is a lot about cloud networking is new, and so that gets a lot of us taking and being passionate about this great field that we are in. So, yep, nice. Looking forward to a great session.
Awesome, awesome. Well, really, really excited to have you folks here. Um, just for the folks who are joining us and are not familiar with our series, we are doing the most popular reInvent 2024 Chalk Talks. We're replaying them on Twitch. We have, I think, 5 or 6 weeks that we're doing this. We're at our third one. Really excited to have one of the top rated reInvent Chalk Talks here today, talking about AWS Cloud WAN. For those of you not familiar with the routing loop, we do have a webpage. You folks can check it out. It's actually theroutingloop.net. You can check it out and you can see all our upcoming episodes. You can see all the recordings for our past episodes on all these platforms that we're streaming live. So in case you missed an episode, don't worry, you'll find it there. Now, for all the folks joining us today, before we dive right in, which one of you wants to tell us what is Cloud WAN? Like, what is the service? What does it do? Let's dive right in.
Sure, I can start with that, Alex. So let me just dive right in. If you can get the slides. Yeah. So AWS Cloud WAN, for folks who are new and who don't know much about the service, think about it as a managed WAN service that lets you build, monitor, and manage global networks. And there are a few couple pillars about Cloud WAN. Number one, it lets you build that global network in a matter of minutes. And you are leveraging that great, powerful AWS backbone, which supports 30 plus regions and local zones and 400 plus pop locations and all of that great stuff. That um, powerful, high capacity, private and secure global backbone that we have, you are essentially leveraging that for building your global network. That's what Cloud WAN lets you do. The second pillar of Cloud WAN is we have strived to simplify the networking aspect of things in Cloud WAN. So a lot of the complex networking primitives in terms of like setting up peering connections or routing or some of the bandwidth assignments to these individual interfaces and attachments, all that is abstracted away from you, and you are presented with a central policy doc where you specify your intent, and then all the hard work of building that network and the routing and the peering is done by the service for you. So that's the big differentiator of Cloud WAN and cloud
Awesome.
networking in general. And then the third pillar is segmentation and security. A lot, I mean, a lot of you folks already know that you can't build flat networks when you're building global networks. You need segmentation. You need to isolate certain routing domains, certain services, and all that is not an afterthought in this service. It's built in from day one. It's like a first class citizen features, and so you can take advantage of that segmentation, high levels of automation, all of that as part of the service.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing is that Cloud WAN, actually, your next slide, the title, allows you to build a unified global network, right? And allows you to have this end-to-end segmentation. Um, do I still need to configure route tables, like routes and route tables and all of that traditional networking stuff?
And no, and that's the great thing about Cloud WAN. And if I can just pull this slide, to answer your question, Alex, all of this starts from what we call the central policy document. And in that central policy document, you would specify your intent, like, here's the regions that I want to build my network into. Here's what my environments look like. Like if you have dev, prod, staging, hybrid, you can state your intent to build those segmented environments. So basically, it's just segments in Cloud WAN. Then you can specify your segment sharing policy. Like if you have a shared services segment, hey, I want to share that with my dev, prod, and hybrid segments. And then you can specify your attachment policy. And that attachment policy helps you automatically onboard attachments onto Cloud WAN, right? So, and then once you specify all that intent in this central policy document here, and you execute that policy document, then all this is built for you by the service. And that's
So
exactly how it's rendered. So you have like three, like in this example, you have three regions, you have three segments, dev, prod, hybrid, and then you are bringing in, I mean, you're attaching not just your VPCs, but also you're bringing in your SD-WAN connections, your site-to-site VPNs, your TX connections, and whatnot. So
got it.
that's all. That's how
Okay.
it works.
And that policy document, it's like a file. I think we're going to see an example of it, but I think for everyone to know that policy document is like a JSON file. It's something that most of folks are familiar with, and it's hopefully really easy to manage and maintain. I do think that I forgot to mention that the whole point of Chalk Talks is, for those of you who've been in reInvent and who've participated in Chalk Talks, is for all of you here in the chat on all these platforms to ask questions. So keep that in mind as we go through these concepts Cloud WAN provides and how it helps you build global networks. Let us know your questions in the chat. And I didn't forget that I asked you folks to let us know in the chat where you're from, where you're joining us from. We love to see where folks interested in networking live around the world, and where we have you joining us from during this live stream. So looking forward for all the cities out there where you folks are from. Awesome. So central policy, global routing, simplified. You don't need to deal with all the complexity of route tables. What else?
Yeah, and so you asked that question about, it's what is that policy document? It is a JSON doc, but for UX lovers, I know there's a bunch of folks out there who don't want to go and configure JSON or write JSON code. For them, you have great point and click sort of UX primitives. You can go to simple UI, click your regions, click your attachment policies, put tags and stuff like that using the console that we have for Cloud WAN. So you have best of both worlds in terms of stating your intent or provisioning this whole global network.
Awesome.
Right?
Really cool.
Yeah. So the next, I guess, the next thing that we want to talk about in terms of slides is this whole topic of Cloud WAN and Transit Gateway.
I was actually hoping that someone would ask the question in the chat. Someone would be like, "But hey, I know about this transit gateway thing that you guys have. Like, what is that? Like, why do you have these two? Which one should I go for? Which one should I choose?" So no one asked the question, but you asked it on the slide, which I think is perfect.
And that's that's a good segue, because Sridhar is very excited on Cloud WAN, but people who are really day to day working with customers, specifically as I mentioned, my background is large enterprise customers. They probably have deployed Transit Gateway like 4 years ago, right? And they know quite well how it works with Transit Gateway. Now we come with Cloud WAN, no? With a lot of benefits, a lot of features that seems very interesting. But I still have Transit Gateway, right? And that's what we start with, this kind of mind journey that we mentioned. No, what's the answer to ultimate question? Transit Gateway, Cloud WAN. No, we have some ideas on that. And Sridhar, do you want to maybe go to the next slide, please?
I want to first acknowledge Aclox21. Thank you for providing and asking us the question.
And this is, again, I get this question. I'm not going to say every day, but I get it in every single conversation we have with customers, because like all of us, we like new technology, right? So we all really get excited. Oh, Cloud WAN. I say, well, actually, why? No, I think there's a clear differentiation, no, between both of them. No, and both of them has a specific reasons and specific areas and specific features, no, that makes interesting and compelling to different type of customers and different type of use cases. No, what we'd like to think about Transit Gateway. No, Transit Gateway is a DIY cloud router. No, is for people who has a networking background, not like myself. We like this kind of buzzwords, no? Side rangers, route tables. Oh, we want to really control and fine grind our routing tables and do manual segmentation, right? We get really into the details as our network engineers, right? And we get into that level of granularity that we like to work on. But that doesn't mean it's the most effective way. I think it works, and it has been working for a long time. But I think with cloud, no, we bring in a lot of new functionality, no, that probably we need to embrace and maybe simplify a little bit our job as a network engineers as well in some cases, no. Second topic that Transit Gateway works very well is a regional construct, right? The Transit Gateway is bound to the region construct. So you're working in Dublin, for example, or working in London. Your Transit Gateway influence or traffic works in the same region, right? So when you want to jump into a different region, you have to deploy a new Transit Gateway, and then you have to peer those Transit Gateways into different regions. The problem is you have in a single region, in a secondary region, so you still need to repeat all your routing tables, all your side ranges, all your segments again. No, that took a while to do in a single region. Imagine then your business said, well, actually, our second region was a really success. Let's do 5 more, right? We get 5 more regions and say, oh gosh, we're going to be working route tables for the next 10 years, right? And it's going to get really complicated, no? So that's I think what we think in Transit Gateway is a great product when you start working in this a more smaller scale, single region, different areas, and we get all of this. All the points that we always say automation as well in every single AWS service. Of course, we can automate that, but it's manual automation. So using Cloud WAN, using your CloudFormation or Terraform, but it's a more console-based, so you ISC as a code automation, something you have to manually do as well. Of course, you have third-party tools, absolutely fine to use with Transit Gateway. And that's why always these hints that it makes about Transit Gateway is a great service, but it has some, I would say, limitation. It's to scale through multiple different regions, to scale to a global scale. It makes it more difficult. That's where Cloud WAN comes into the picture, right? Cloud WAN tries to address most of these problems. For customers that are less sophisticated in the networking experience, right? They want to be a little more hands-off, right? Not being as involved into these routing table segments and all of that. And they have this kind of idea. Say, well, we want you to create a network that has an intent base, a policy, because policy is always clear. We want to separate the traffic. Your production traffic goes to a segment. Your non-production traffic goes to a different segment. Or maybe you have different regulatory requirements, for example, that helps to segregate the traffic in different ideas. That's in general driven by security or by other business requirements. That can be extrapolated with Transit Gateway, but Cloud WAN makes that exercise much easier by the central policies and these intent-based policies as well. Second biggest benefit of Cloud WAN is automation. We mentioned that the Cloud WAN gives us a lot of automation, and that's one of the main benefits as well. But we talked about a managed service. And the idea of a managed service, it gives you all the benefits of a managed service. Sorry to repeat myself. The idea is it gets all the automation, updates, change, enhancements as a full managed service. So we don't really need to spend as much time on doing work and manual job for routing table separation and all of that. And the third point as well, because it's a global service. So I have to define our policy once, and that policy will be applied across all the different regions. So expanding this network segmentation and expanding this traffic to one region or 5 regions, it's a trivial work. Adding those network edge afterwards, and we're going to see more details afterwards, adding the policy as well, applying it, and automatically Cloud WAN will be expanded and getting the traffic segmented in a new region. So that's the main benefit of using Cloud WAN as well. However,
Okay.
this is more about features and stuff. Sorry, Alex, you want to ask?
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I think it's great because we're getting a few questions in the chat, so I do want to get us a bit on the track of answering those questions as well. I think there's a comment from Ken. I would say TGW on steroids with almost fully automated routing configuration. I like that analogy with Cloud WAN. That's great. We do have a question here from Tech First. From cost perspective, do we have a number of regions where we can decide we should go to Cloud WAN or Transit Gateway? Sridhar, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, the whole cost discussion can be a little involved based on your actual network and number of attachments, number of regions. But just one thing to keep in mind is there is a slight premium on the attachment hourly costs, and there is a per region cost for Cloud WAN. And the reason why you have that premium is because of all of that automation and the intent-based management and all of those great value features that we bring, and the infrastructure that's needed to support those features. One quick nuance I'll say is like the data processing is exactly the same. And when we, over the years, we've seen a lot of these cost discussions, and data processing comes to the forefront when it comes to costs, and that is exactly the same. So folks should be very mindful of that.
In another way I position to my customers, at least, you think of the time you save with Cloud WAN. That's the main benefit, right? The number of hours you spend on people and resources expanding to a new region, changing configuration or updating configuration. You have to measure that number of hours, right? Put some dollar figure, and the slight uplift of Cloud WAN could potentially offset that number very, very quickly.
Yeah, and there's that Dustin Voiles here brings up a really good question. I think Ken also refers to the same question. Cloud WAN is compatible with Direct Connect. Does it support Direct Connect? I think we're going to tackle that a bit later, but spoiler alert, yes, it does. It's just been launched right before reInvent last year, so we're really excited about it.
And we have slides for that. So
yes, we're going to get to that for sure. Okay, perfect. So in summary.
Yeah, maybe we can move one more slide through that now.
Yeah.
So, and I think I like this slide I use in some of my customer engagement. It's just to trigger this thinking, right? I think I see in the chat and some of these questions, right? It's the idea of asking this question to yourself, right? It will help to steer not to one side or to the other side, right? And thinking into the ideas of all of these pros and cons, right? With cost a little bit in the higher, right? But huge simplification, global scale versus regional scale, right? It will help to inform your discussion. Of course, you don't want to deploy Cloud WAN for a very small single VPC, right? That would complicate a lot of your infrastructure. But you think into multi-region or even a single region, something we are recommending for customers that want to do segmentation from day one. Cloud WAN is a best solution as well to simplify network architecture. No? So we have for greenfield environments who have day one network segmentation requirements, Cloud WAN is one of the great options as well. No? So even basic steps on network segmentation is a great use case for Cloud WAN.
That's awesome. Okay. I think we have one more question before one more question to the list of questions that you folks have here on the slide. From performance perspective, should customers get concerned when they want to migrate from Transit Gateway to Cloud WAN if for existing environments, that is not for greenfield?
Yeah, I mean,
sorry. No, one of the things that we mentioned, and that's connected to another question that we saw on the chat as well, right? Cloud WAN is built on top of Transit Gateway as well. No, so it's not a different service behind the scenes. It's very similar as well. So from performance perspective, the same assumptions that we do from Transit Gateway can be entirely applied to Cloud WAN. No, so if you're thinking into how Cloud WAN behaves. It's not a service being built from scratch. It's a continuation. I like this TGW in steroids now. So it's the same concept and mental models, at least I use personally now, back to how I think Cloud WAN as an option for customers.
Yeah, I would say that's exactly right. And we have published all the quotas for Cloud WAN, like in terms of per attachment bandwidth, the limits, all of that is public. And if you look at that, and if you look at the Transit Gateway quotas, then you will see it's pretty much exactly the same. And the reason is because the service is built on top of that same technology, the hyperplane fabric under the hood for both services.
Awesome. Okay. I think we did spend quite some time on TGW versus Cloud WAN. I think it's clear what the Cloud WAN value proposition is. Should we advance? We're almost halfway through, and even though we don't have the answer to the question of meaning of life, which is usually 42, we've gotten to answering the question of, is it Transit Gateway or is it Cloud WAN, right? So it's all good there. Before we jump right in and we talk about some of the Cloud WAN features, for everyone who joined us a bit late, I see here folks joining us on the live stream. We are talking about AWS Cloud WAN global metrics and how you can use this AWS service to build, simplify your network connectivity on AWS. We're joined by Fiona and Sridhar, and we're doing this as part of a set of Twitch sessions that we have specifically for replaying the most popular reInvent Chalk Talks. So all your questions are welcomed. We're here to answer your questions and to make sure you get all the information you need. Before we dive into some of the new features that Cloud WAN brings to the table, TechField has a question here. So can we please talk about how attachments work with TGW and Cloud WAN, i.e. tag-based attachments in Cloud WAN versus manual attachments in TGW?
Yeah, sure. So one of the hallmarks of Cloud WAN automation that we talk about is really that automatically onboarding attachments onto segments, right? So as part of our policy, the attachment policy, you can say, hey, any segments which have tags prod onboard those. I'm sorry, any attachments with tag prod onboard those onto prod segments. Anything with dev tag onboard that onto dev segments, right? A very simple intent like that you can specify in your attachment policy. And then there's a lot of flexibility there as well. You can go by accounts, you can go by regions. There's a lot of primitives we provide as part of attachment policy. And then you execute that policy and set it up. And then as you are creating these attachments, all you have to do is assign those tags appropriately as per your defined policy, and they will automatically onboard onto the segment that you intend them to onboard. So that's a great feature. That's frankly, like, that's one of the most popular features that we see on Cloud WAN that customers love, and that's something that's great to see customers deploying that.
Okay, awesome. I think that that explains it, and I think the fact that you don't have to worry about anymore about like selecting the right route table for an attachment and making sure that the routes are in the right route table and making sure you propagate that attachment in the right route tables is something that simplifies a lot of the operations and management piece when it comes to Cloud WAN. And as you folks mentioned, if you are a greenfield deployment, if you're thinking about starting with Cloud WAN on AWS, or actually thinking about building a network on AWS, Cloud WAN is your go-to. It makes it really easy for you to start. It gives you the baseline for global expansion if your business use cases drive that. And you have to build much less automation in the DIY space to manage transit gateways. So I think that also answers Eng F. Ammer Wan's question based on what we choose between Cloud WAN and Transit Gateway. default Cloud WAN. If you have very specific requirements or very specific needs, then you can look at what Transit Gateway allows you to do in the DIY space. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about the new features in Cloud WAN.
Sure. So we thought, we will quickly go over some of those new innovations that we introduced in Cloud WAN over the last, give or take 12 to 18 months. And what we've really strived for is there were some objections when we launched this like a couple years ago. You can call them gaps or whatnot and that were raised. And our whole focus last year was to unblock customers for this gap. These are the three features that we're going to talk about. The first one is the native Direct Connect attachment. This is something that we launched at reInvent. Then we'll talk about Tuneless Connect, which is a big SD-WAN use case feature. And then finally, service insertion, which falls into the security realm.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start with the native Direct Connect attachments.
Before we go into that, folks, I will let you know that my cat is really excited about Cloud WAN. She was right here purring on the mic, so you might have heard her. She's already an expert, but every time she hears Sridhar and Fiona talk, she's like, "Oh, this is exciting."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we are fortunate, Alex. My dog's still sleeping, so because he makes a much louder noise, so you don't want that.
We can make a concert, right? With all the dogs and the cats afterwards. So that's it.
That's right. That's right. All right, so let's talk about native DX integration. So this is the whole idea here is, as you may have guessed, is simplifying the integration between Cloud WAN and your Direct Connect based networks, right? So you want to be able to onboard those data center or any remote sites that are connected by a DX. You want to simplify the onboarding of those sites onto your global network, which is Cloud WAN based, and that's what exactly this feature does. You may recall previous to this feature, you had to use like an intermediate transit gateway to connect your DX gateways into Cloud WAN. Now, with this feature, you don't have to do that anymore. And we support full dynamic routing in both directions on that Direct Connect attachment. So this slide shows a little bit more detail onto what your typical network would look like and what components are part of this feature, right? So on the DX side of things, it's really all the same. It's direct DX connections. You're going to continue to use transit VIPs that you used for Transit Gateway, so that remains the same. Also, the Direct Connect gateway, obviously, that construct remains the way as is. What you can do is you can attach now that Direct Connect gateway directly into your core network, and you can essentially specify. So the segment onboarding piece of it is exactly the same, just like any other attachment. Like you can configure tags on your Direct Connect gateway attachment to make sure it like onboards onto the hybrid segment or whichever segment you want it to onboard onto. But there is more flexibility that we are providing on this attachment in terms of which CNEs you can choose. So for most of the networks or use cases out there, it's a good idea to just select all CNEs that are part of the segment. But there might be certain use cases where you want to selectively advertise routes back and forth between your on-prem and core network using like multiple DX gateways and whatnot, where you may want to restrict your route advertisements to a single CNE or maybe a couple of a subset of CNEs in that segment. So you have that flexibility. Essentially, that's the most important point. And as I mentioned, you can do BGP-based dynamic routing in both directions on this attachment. Yep, Alex. Go ahead.
Awesome. I think, yeah, this actually ties to Ken's question around should we go with the hybrid segment approach or different virtual interfaces per segment? I think this is a decision that depends or is based a lot on what your connectivity architecture looks like. So Fiona, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I was kind of me because that's another typical questions I get from customers, right? And as you well said, no, it highly depends how you want to architect your on-premise network. What we see it's that the idea is customers want to get this segmentation to the on-premise network as well. So the production traffic you get in Cloud WAN be reflected with the same route tables on-premise, right? And the same for the non-production traffic. That's when you attach two different Direct Connect gateways to a different segments into Direct Connect. No? So having two transit PIF to two different Direct Connect gateways attached to different segments. That's a way it helps to create or transport this segmentation all the way to on-premise. If you have a different way to segment on-premise, then the hybrid segment is a little bit simpler. So you don't really need to have different transit PIF with different Direct Connect gateways, no? So highly depends how you do on-premise traffic segmentation. The most common translation with on-premise networks is VRF, right? So we have the route routing functions on our devices. That's how we match it with different transit PIF attached to different VRF. And those VRF should be the same as the segments in Cloud WAN.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So if we want end-to-end segmentation, we would go with different DX gateways, one per segment, and attach to those specific segments. If we want connectivity into a separate hybrid kind of routing domain on premises, we would go with the hybrid segment. That makes a lot of sense. Ken, let us know if that answers your question. There's another question here in the chat from Kareem Jamali. Is there a limitation of transit gateways per DX gateway, or how does it work with Cloud WAN? That's a good question.
It is, and I think part of the changes that has been done in Direct Connect Gateway is the increase in number of Direct Connect gateways. Now the number is 4 right now, so you can have up to 4 Direct Connect gateways in your in your Direct Connect segment. That makes sense, right? So it applies to both to Transit Gateway and to Cloud WAN, no? So, and that's why one of the reasons we increase the number to 4.
Awesome. Okay, got it. Understood. And if we go with like the per segment type Direct Connect gateway, then we get that separately, essentially, correct?
Yeah, and just one thing to clarify is in terms of limits, like if you take a core network as an example, and if you have like 30 regions or whatnot, or whatever, 20 plus regions into that core networks, which means those many CNEs, you can always attach that Direct Connect gateway to that logical segment. So in terms of like number of CNEs, there's no limit per se. Right. Obviously, there are other limits in terms of how many routes you can advertise on that attachment and incoming routes and whatnot. But you can build big global networks, however many CNEs you want, and this attachment would work with that config.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Sounds great. Hi, everyone who's in the chat. I see a lot of you folks sharing with us hellos and where you folks are from. Really excited to have you all here. Just as a heads up for everyone who joined us a bit late, we are talking about AWS Cloud WAN and how you can build global networks on AWS using this service. What else do we have new in our basket of goodies today?
Yep. Fiona, you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Sridhar mentioned the first feature that was about launching reinvent. Another feature was launched a little bit earlier that reinvent is a new change to Cloud WAN, or a new feature that's only on Cloud WAN available, or we call it Tuneless Connect. And the idea, folks who are familiar with Transit Gateway, we used to have our SD-WAN attachment using GRE encapsulation, right? And GRE encapsulation was the idea to connect directly your SD-WAN appliance back to Transit Gateway and then back to one of the another benefits of Cloud WAN is Tuneless Connect gets rid of the GRE encapsulation. There's a few more benefits that we're going to discuss. But before, let's recap about why customers should be looking for fully integrating their SD-WAN appliances with Cloud WAN. Can you send to the next slide, please? Yeah, can you build it all together?
Sure.
Perfect. So we see customers building or migrating the existing MPLS networks to SD-WAN devices. And that migration in general is to move away to this kind of legacy and sometimes very expensive and not very high performance MPLS network, not driven by these large telco providers. Same customers look into a SD-WAN solution is to utilize a more commodity carriers, no, like IP-based carriers or IP transit, or even 4G, 5G networks, even satellite connections or any type of transport. As long as you have some IP connectivity within your SD-WAN devices, it helps to build this overlay network on top of the SD-WAN devices. And we want to extend and we want to help customers going through that journey from the own SD-WAN devices to utilize and leverage the AWS backbone. The AWS backbone is a fully private backbone, high performance, low latency backbone, and it will help to backbone the traffic between your different locations, North America, Europe, Asia Pacific, where you keep your internet or direct access connects in some areas, some countries, your traditional DSL connection, maybe in a remote location, all of them connected back to AWS, back to the SD-WAN device, and backhaul the traffic to the SD-WAN backbone. So it helps to have a low latency, very predictive performance as a backbone. So traffic between different branches and different offices go through AWS, and helps to build and scale a high-performance low latency network without the help of the traditional telco or pro carriers as well. Can we go to the next slide, please, Rita? What's the difference between the existing GE attachment and Tuneless Connect? As I kind of hinted, we don't use in GRE. GRE used to be limited to up to 5 gigabytes per second. With Tuneless Connect, you can scale up to the speed to a single ENI. There's 100 gigabytes per second in a single AC. So it's much more high scalable. And with Tuneless Connect as well, if you still need, or your SD-WAN appliance doesn't support Tuneless Connect, we still support GRE. We can use GRE and Tuneless Connect at the same time, depending on your needs as well. And also we support fully BGP dynamic routing between the different devices. So we expose all the BGP routing tables into SD-WAN appliance. And we can have up to 4 BGP attachments, BGP peers per attachment as well. So you get fully redundant connection between the different SD-WAN appliances and the different BGP peers as well. And of course, all of that is with some high-level automation that it will depend from your SD-WAN partner or SD-WAN provider as well. So that's a new features on Tuneless Connect, but I want to highlight, as I say, customers building a global network from SD-WAN and from their own providers and using AWS as a backbone for the inter-branch inter-office connectivity as a low latency, high performance network. That is one of the differentiators for AWS.
Awesome. I think that is great. I don't know, Sridhar, do you have anything to add here?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. The one thing I would add is we work with the top leading SD-WAN vendors in the world. Pretty much, the who's who in the top 10. They are our partners. Truly appreciative of the partners. They have some great technologies, and we are doing some great integration work with them to give like good solutions to our customers. So I just wanted to mention that point. So thank you to our partners for that.
Awesome. Yeah. We have here in the chat a few comments about a demo of Cloud WAN plus DX. Maybe we do a demo Cloud WAN plus Direct Connect plus SD-WAN. Let us know if you folks are in for that. And
Sure.
of course, nice diagrams, whiteboarding. We do have not too much time left today for us to do quite a lot of whiteboarding, but we'll be back to you folks with more sessions, and hopefully we get to address all your asks here in the chat. So thank you for sharing thoughts and ideas of what we can do more. You're also going to find on the routing loop a form for feedback for us. So let us know how we did and if you have any feedback. Also, hello to everyone who's joining us from around the world. Here I see folks from all the countries joining us. So thank you for that as well. We have probably 10-ish minutes left of our stream. So let's see, what do we have new still for Cloud WAN, and what do we want to wrap up with?
We have one more feature, right? To go through.
Yeah, that's right.
So not least.
Yeah, so in the interest of time, I'm going to really skip through, and then we'll be happy to take questions. But the next feature that we want to talk about is service insertion. This is something that we launched at Reinforce last year. And as you folks know, centralized security inspection is super critical use case. You have all your workloads in cloud. There's this beautiful segmentation. There's all these on-prem connections, but then you want to be able to inspect traffic in all of these different traffic paths that you have built your global network for, right? And that's where this feature shines. It makes it super easy for you to do that centralized inspection. So it could be like VPC to VPC cross-region traffic, cross-segment traffic, your SD-WAN or your VPN connection traffic from on-prem, right? This is the feature that lets you do the inspection for that. So I'm just going to dive right into the feature details a little bit. So it's a typical Cloud WAN network. You have a prod segment, a dev segment, right? Prod VPCs go to prod, dev VPCs go to dev. With this feature, we have introduced a new construct. It's called Network Functions Group. And that NFG, think about it, it's similar to segment, except that we manage all the routing for what's attached to the network function group. And what you can attach to this NFG is essentially your inspection VPCs. So, you have VPCs where you have an AWS network firewall or maybe third-party firewalls from our partners. You can take that VPC, attach it to your network function group, and then in the Cloud WAN policy, you can have simple policy statements. Hey, any traffic between dev and prod segments, steer that, send it via the network function group, right? Or any traffic from dev segment for your centralized internet egress use case, send to your network function group. So we support both, centralized egress as well as east-west inspection use cases using that feature. And then again, once you execute the policy, we'll make sure the next hop redirects are put in place so that your traffic gets steered via the inspection VPCs. And the great thing about this feature is you can do this at the global level, right? Like think about it. Like you have 8+ regions. Let's say you have security infrastructure in 6 out of those 8 regions, and you want to steer this complicated traffic across those 6 security points. It can be super hard to do that manually. And so this feature is the answer for you to do that super easily.
And this
I will.
Sorry.
One super quick thing. So I'll share that we had the session last year at Reinforce, and we presented through this, and we had customers coming to us afterwards. Shrikar, you may remember, who were saying, "This looks too easy. Like, is it like there's definitely more than this to it?" And we're like, "No, it's exactly like this. It's just your global network. You create the network function groups. You put the send via or send to statements. You select the right segments, and that is it." And they're like, "Oh, there must be something here." So yes, it is as simple as it looks and as it feels. There's no hidden gotchas there. So really exciting feature.
And Alex, you kind of was going towards the same point. Coming from Transit Gateway, right? Trying to implement the same functionality with Transit Gateway, it takes more like a couple of clicks, right? So building all these VPCs, segments, and route tables, and propagating through all of that, be sure the traffic gets to the different places, all of that. It's, I think, from my perspective, one of the biggest benefits of Cloud WAN is to solve these problems in a single few policies and clicks as well. Huh? That's we see in customers a lot. And the other thing, for compliance reasons as well, we get a lot of questions from customers thinking how I know the traffic is going through my firewalls, right?
Yep.
Because we don't know if the routes and the route tables are properly configured. Same thing. This provides enough attestation and enough compliance because it's intent-based, fully automated. So as long as the traffic is sent and the policies are set right, we know the traffic is going to the firewalls and the devices as well.
That's
Awesome.
exactly right. Yeah.
We also have a question from Kareem Jamali. Can the firewall be a cloud offering, or must it exist within the VPC? I think today the firewall needs to be deployed in a VPC. You can deploy network firewall endpoints, which are the AWS Network Firewall managed service offering. The endpoints still need to exist in a VPC to take that traffic to AWS Network Firewall. For your third-party firewall integrations, you do have to have gateway load balancer plus your firewalls plus the gateway load balancer endpoints. So today, that is the design deployment supported.
Yep.
We can't talk about roadmap here, and we won't. But I would highly encourage all of you folks to closely follow the Cloud WAN space and the integrations we're building here. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and then just real quick thing to add on to, like, because that's a related question that comes up as well, is, hey, for my network function group, what if my firewalls are on-prem? And you could do that. I mean, you could attach like a site-to-site VPN connection to this network function group and steer traffic there if your firewall is on-prem. So that's doable if you want to do that.
Awesome.
Cool. All right. So then let's talk migration. Fiona?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we have a few minutes left, no? So
Yeah.
probably we need to make this more Q&A perspective.
Really fast.
Yeah, I don't want to make a disrespect, no, from the migration perspective. This is a little bit of, because it's a guide, right? So it's a hitchhiker guide to the cloud one, no? This is at a much very high level. I think the 4 or 5 steps that I think I experience, I think customers should experience going to cloud one, right? First of all, of course, has to be a strong business case, no, behind the scenes and the reason going to that. And I think what you mentioned before, Sarah, myself, and Alex, right? The automation, the security, all the benefits should be clear up front, right? The first step is to define in which regions you want to use Cloud WAN. Just warning, Cloud WAN is not deployed in all regions, so double check that all these regions are supported first. Secondly, a phase approach. One of the benefits how Cloud WAN operates, it's you don't have to do a big bang approach. You don't have to, it doesn't mean you have to scratch everything in the Transit Gateway, deploy everything in the Cloud WAN, and have long downtime. You can go almost VPC by VPC, segment by segment, slowly migrating. And we start, I think the first step we suggest to the customers is you can use Cloud WAN as a global interconnect. You can peer your transit gateways into Cloud WAN, and Cloud WAN will be your first construct that runs across your different regions, okay? And then when you peer all the different transit gateways within different regions, then you can start migrating these VPCs into native Cloud WAN attachments as well. Second thing, because we are building in parallel, we have a very solid rollback plan. No, we can implement the changes. If we see the traffic doesn't go where we want to be, we can roll back those changes very quickly, and the downtimes will be in seconds or less. Use automation, something we keep repeating as a network engineers. The most automate, the less mistake you make. But one of the most important things to use automation is it reduce downtime. Because you are fully automating your deployments and fully automating your cloud migration, downtime could be measured in seconds, as I mentioned. It's the time that it takes to replace your VPC route tables with new destinations and new route tables. That time, it's absolutely, as I say, measured in seconds, along use automation. And always my suggestion to every single customer, test more. And then when you're sure you're testing twice, do a final test so you're sure that everything works as expected. No? So, and that's the thing is, I think lessons from the trenches, right? Lessons from my experience, not what we see other customers. As long as you follow these principles, it should be a really almost transparent migration from Transit Gateway all the way to Cloud WAN. No? If you want Sridhar to go to next slide, but just to discuss it a bit and give into light, this is the first kind of step I was mentioning before. But next one. Sorry, this is the existing one. This is what I want. Yeah, perfect. So this is my first step I was mentioning before, right? As a starting point, they will not create big disruption. It's just the peering between different transit gateways in different regions to Cloud WAN. No, that's a thing.
Awesome.
Sorry, you want to say something, Alex?
Yeah, no, all good, all good. I'm just very conscious of the fact that we're really, really close to time. I think there's absolutely more to dive deeper into here. We have a few blogs that describe the adoption journey here, or migration from Transit Gateway to Cloud WAN. Again, if you're starting greenfield and this is your brand new deployment, starting with Cloud WAN, it's really easy. I do see a question here from Ken related to the service insertion piece. Just to answer that super briefly, it is a routing concept at layer 3, so you can't filter specific ports or protocols to send to the service insertion or the firewall attachments. Just keep that in mind, and you'll find more details in the documentation. Now, I think we're very close to a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks everyone in the chat who's joined us from different parts of the world. I see folks from Uganda, Indonesia, from Florida, from all around the world. So thank you all for being with us today. We're wrapping up another session of reInvent Chalk Talks. We've talked about Cloud WAN. Awesome having you here, Fiona and Sridhar. And until next time, happy building.